Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. The Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Christopher Alcazar, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, other government officials and members of the business community, specially invited guests, members of the media. I would also like to include in my introduction of people my wife Allison, who is here for the first time in Trinidad, our Chief Executive Officer Jose Luis Laparte and his wife Gabriela, and two members of our Board of Directors, Mitch Lynn and Leon Jenks, who are here tonight. I also want to add my congratulations to the award winners and particularly recognize Mr. Lockjack, who I just met tonight, for his extraordinary work here in Trinidad and Tobago, what you've meant to this country. It's a great honor to know you, sir, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I want to say that we had a wonderful day today. We were in Chaguanas, PriceSmart, and also in Mausica. And because my mind is constantly churning around, I came up with some what I think are great ideas. I don't know how they'll look tomorrow morning, but tonight they seem okay. And we were looking particularly at logistics opportunities, packaging, and more product manufacturing here in Trinidad and Tobago. And I thought I would just mention that we are currently sourcing about $120 million of product locally, and we're exporting about $21 million of product from Trinidad and Tobago. Now I have a couple of things I have to admit right away that I want you to know about. These are very important things. First of all, I've been involved in PriceSmart for over 20 years, and tonight is the first night that I've ever made a speech in English to a large group. And I want you to understand English is my native language. But in the past, my speeches have all been in Spanish because the opportunities for speaking were in Spanish-speaking countries. And I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker, but I have a lot of help when I give a speech in Spanish. And so I'm really nervous tonight having to speak in English. It's a very difficult thing. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing I want to mention is that even though you all came here to hear what I have to say about Donald Trump, I don't have anything to say about Donald Trump. I have no special knowledge. And my final confession is the fact that you may have been aware of the rumor that California is going to secede from the United States, but I want you to understand that that's way premature. We haven't made that decision yet. So we'll keep you posted. At any rate, in preparing for tonight's event, I did a little homework and learned about the mission of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Associations, increasing the value and growth of the manufacturing sector in Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to reassure you, or assure you, that PriceSmart is totally committed to those same values. And even though we're not based here in terms of our home office, this is one of the most important markets we have in our company. The other thing I think I would like to comment on are the speeches that were made by Mr. Lockjack, by the Prime Minister, and also by Chris. And the overlap in the countries where we do business, we're in almost all of the countries mentioned here where there is some form of free trade agreement are countries in which PriceSmart already is well established. So I think for us, we really see a great opportunity to help fulfill the mission that you're trying to seek and to improve the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. So a bit about our company. Our company business practices are built on a foundation of values that have been fundamental to my family and our businesses for the past 60 years. And I learned about these values from my father, Saul Price, and I worked with my dad for about 50 years. And I assume in Trinidad and Tobago that many of you have multi-generational connections in business. And in the United States, that's not as common, but I'm happy to say now that our son David is also becoming involved in our business. And this is something that I think gives me a great source of comfort, the fact that there's continuity in our family's interest in business. I wrote a book about my father's life a few years ago. It was called Retail Revolutionary and Social Innovator. And I want to take a few minutes just to share a little history of my father's life and his career. And I think that'll help inform a little bit about how we go about running our business. My father was born in New York City. He was the son of Russian Jewish immigrants who arrived in the United States in the early part of the 20th century. From what I've been told, and what I guess I know from personal experience, he was extremely precocious as a child and as an adult as well, who developed a strong work ethic along with a real commitment to social justice. When my father was 13 years old, he and his family moved to California. He attended the University of Southern California, and he received a law degree. Married my mother, moved back to San Diego, where we live. After practicing family and business law for 15 years, my father, at the age of 38, embarked on a business career in retailing. He and a few of his clients opened what was then known as a membership retail store the name of the store was PriceSmart, and it was a revolutionary concept of selling many different kinds of product under one roof in a membership environment. This was in 1954. The format was very successful, so successful in fact that in 1962, 3 other companies opened for the first time using his format, and those companies were Walmart, Kmart, and Target. PriceSmart was a new way of conceiving a relationship between a business and its customers and employees, a relationship built on trust. My father, employing a legal concept, described his business approach as the fiduciary relationship between his business, PriceSmart, and its employees and customers. And a fiduciary being a person who is responsible for honestly taking care of another person's money or other assets. In the simplest form, my father based his business principles on representing his employees and customers, and as an attorney would represent the best interests of his clients. My father's business ethics were even applied to social issues of the time. During the 1950s, PriceSmart operated in Texas. In those days, segregation of the races was the norm in Texas. My father voluntarily and boldly desegregated the bathroom facilities at PriceSmart and also arranged for all customers, blacks and whites, to eat together at the small restaurants located in the PriceSmart stores. Now, I'll tell you how creative he was, the way he accomplished this. The laws did not permit blacks and whites to sit together in a restaurant. And so a friend of his told him, well, you can solve this problem very easily. Just don't have chairs, have everybody stand. And when they did that, everybody got along and ate together in the little restaurant. In May 1975, PriceSmart was sold, and a few months later, my father was fired by the new owners. And he resigned. I resigned, and I had been working with my dad 10 years at the time, and we had to go to work. I had one child, my wife and I had a child, and another one on the way. And my father's firing was a complete breach of faith and contract. And he had been made promises under an employment contract that he would be able to remain as president. And so while he was starting a new business, which I'll describe in a minute, he was fighting a lawsuit against these new owners, which he prevailed upon and actually won his unlawful termination lawsuit. In July of 1976, we came up with a new concept, an open price club, which was the first warehouse club, membership warehouse club business that had ever existed. And we almost went broke. And I always say that if we had gone broke, and we came close to going broke, my wife was very nervous at the time, and she thought I had lost my mind. But we did make it. But I always say if we had gone broke, there'd have never been a Costco and there never would have been a Sam's, because everybody would have figured that this was a lousy business. But it worked out. We made a lot of mistakes. Luckily, we had the financial resources and enough sense to make many changes, including expanding membership, which originally was limited to people with resale, businesses with resale permits, to families. We survived, the business took off, and by the early 1980s, the word got out again about my dad's success, our success. And who do you think started the business in our image? Costco and Sam's, Walmart. And by that time, we were a public company. And during the 1980s, as our business expanded, so did Sam's and Costco. And by the late 1980s, early 1990s, our competitors were doing better than we were doing. And eventually, we decided to sell Price Club. And we found the best buyer being Costco. And so in 1993, our company was sold to Costco. And the reason we were comfortable merging with Costco is because the founder of Costco, Jim Sinegal, had worked with my father and actually learned all of the cultural values we had, and he applied them to Costco. And as you know, Costco really has been the superstar in this industry. But even as after the Costco merger, my father, who was 77 at the time, and I wanted to continue to work and be involved in business. A few of our former Price Club executives suggested organizing a new company to open Price Club style businesses in Central America and the Caribbean. Why we chose to do business in this region? Primarily because we had a 5-year non-compete with Costco, except Costco made the exception that we could operate in Central America and the Caribbean region. Our first location was in Panama City. We opened in 1996, and it was originally named Price Costco, and we later changed it to PriceSmart. Very well accepted from the beginning. In the late 1990s, PriceSmart went on a major expansion program, opening PriceSmarts in Guatemala. Many of these countries were mentioned earlier: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, Dominican Republic, Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, Aruba, and St. Thomas, and in 2003, Nicaragua. But as we expanded, our management at the time unfortunately did not adhere to the business operating practices that had made Price Club so successful. In 2003, we were faced with serious cash flows and the possibility of business failure. At that point, my father created a financial plan to recapitalize PriceSmart, and that plan ended up saving our business. In addition to which, at almost the same time, we brought in a new CEO, a new president, Jose Luis Laparte, who also helped save our company. Today, PriceSmart does business in 13 countries, including Colombia, has 8,000 employees, 1.5 million membership accounts, including 150,000 here in Trinidad, and sales of about $3 billion, and we are traded on the NASDAQ stock exchange. My reason for sharing my father's business history is to demonstrate the consistent way we have approached all of our businesses, from FedMart to Price Club to PriceSmart. A commitment to high-quality merchandise, low prices, great pay and benefits for our employees, and an entrepreneurial spirit, always seeking ways to improve. Along with that, one of the real guiding lights for me has been the way we think about our responsibilities as a business people. Our first responsibility is to our members, our customers. Our second responsibility is to our employees. And we say our investors come last. Why do the investors come last? Because if we take care of our customers, we take care of our employees, we'll run a good business and the investors will come out. Now I would like to turn to our PriceSmart business here in Trinidad. And I want to first say how pleased we are to be in Trinidad. I've been here many times. I have friends here, and you have a wonderful, wonderful country, and your hospitality is great, and we love being in business in Trinidad. Great place to do business. As you know, PriceSmart has 4 locations here. What you might not know is that this is one of the highest performing markets we have in our entire company. We are well accepted here, I think, because we bring great values to our members. I want to especially highlight our members who have restaurants and other small stores. We think our first mission is to help the small business people, or any business people here, run their businesses better by giving them good merchandise for sale, resale, and for their product supplies. Trinidad is the hub of our business throughout the English-speaking Caribbean. Our buyers here in Trinidad are sourcing products from many, many local suppliers, and we are bringing in new products. Now, we have a private label here called Member Selection. We recently added powdered milk, paper products, and we'll soon be introducing bottled water from the local supplier who I believe may have been given an award tonight. I'm trying to remember, help me with the name. Blue Water. Blue Water. So they're going to be doing our private label. One of our key objectives in Trinidad is to increase local product sourcing and exports to our other PriceSmart locations. We are hopeful that certain products sourced from either the U.S. or other countries that we source from can be replaced by products sourced in Trinidad. We'd love to see more products with the label made in Trinidad and Tobago. That would be fantastic, because everybody wins when there are more products made here. Jobs, better pricing for people who live here, and the strengthening of the Trinidad economy. As we consider, now I'm going to say a couple of things that are a little off script about perhaps a little more global thoughts. As we consider the future of manufacturing, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, there are changes going on everywhere that will have dramatic effects on manufacturing in general. And I want to share briefly a couple of thoughts from two books I read recently that have really, really impacted me. One is a book by New York Times columnist Tom Friedman that's called Thank You for Being Late. I don't know whether any of you have read that book. And the other book is by two MIT professors called The Second Machine Age. In Tom Friedman's book, he mentions three factors that are dominating the changes going on in the world. One is Moore's Law, which has to do with the geometric increase in the power of computers to process information. The second is international connectivity, and the way people are going to be connected or are connected today as they never were before. And third is climate change and the environment. For us, all of us as business leaders, these are factors we're going to have to take into account. The other thing in the second machine age, that really deals with the idea that the first machine age was the Industrial Revolution. We're in the second machine age. And what this means is that technology will have an enormous impact on winners and losers in the future economies of the world. And I think that we are seeing, in my opinion, is what was the ascendancy of China as a manufacturer, to me, is going to be an old story. And China is not going to be the ultimate winner, in my opinion. I think the winners are going to be the economies that educate their people and adopt technology so that manufacturing can be done more efficiently, and that we can begin to bring quality of life to people through recognizing these forces that are going on in the world. And so I think here for all of our countries, including the United States, where we're deficient in many ways in dealing with this, education, how we educate our young people, making sure that we have the right schools, the right investment in education is absolutely key to the future. So we are faced with adapting, PriceSmart is faced with adapting to technological change. And the way I see it, I'm sure all of you are aware of the recent purchase by Amazon of Whole Foods and the fact that Walmart is purchasing technology. What we're looking for at PriceSmart is the sweet spot between the traditional brick and mortar store and the technology, the use of technology in shopping, and how those two will interact. And we have created an innovation team that is working on that very subject, and I think in the future we will be able to change the way we do business but still find ways in which the store, the way we shop in the store, is still a factor, but in conjunction with online. And when I was at Chaguanas today, if I was a customer here and I live near Chaguanas, it would be very hard for me to want to go shop there because of the traffic. And so something's going to have to give as far as how people find a way to shop that will allow them to have a quality of life, because I don't think people are going to put up with sitting in traffic for all those hours. I think it's a big issue. I would like to say, on a different subject, a few words about my family's participation in philanthropy. 35 years ago, my parents established a charitable foundation, which we call Price Philanthropies. Our foundation's mission is to identify and fund organizations that provide support to youth and families in poor, underserved communities. We fund many nonprofits in our hometown of San Diego and also support many nonprofits in all of our PriceSmart communities, including our 4 units here in Trinidad. And we have had a number of other donations we've made here in Trinidad, and we continue to search for the best opportunities in Trinidad to support worthy charitable organizations. So if you have, I'm sure I'm going to open up too big an invitation here, but if you have ideas on what might be great local nonprofits, we'd like to know about them because we'd like to support them. I'd like to conclude my remarks by once again acknowledging the work that's being done by the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. And on behalf of myself, the PriceSmart Board of Directors, and our 850 employees here in Trinidad, we are honored to partner with all of you in the future growth and prosperity of Trinidad and Tobago. I am an optimist by nature. That's the way I've lived my life. And I know Trinidad and Tobago is going to have an enormously successful future. We're glad to be here. We're going to work with you. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak here tonight. It's been a great honor.